Hello everyone, my name is Paul. Welcome back to the new news. I hope that everyone's having a fantastic day. I hope that you, your family, and your friends are safe. And if not, I do hope that you find that safety and security in the very near future. There's a ton of stuff that is happening all throughout the world today and over the last several days, as we are now covering the last 72 hours of everything that has happened throughout the world. And we won't be touching on what happened necessarily over, covering the 1 year of the war in Ukraine, because we did release our very first proper video on the channel, which does cover that 1 year in Ukraine, which premiered, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback from you guys regarding it, and it's pretty good. I'm happy to see that it was a very good video with all the work and everything that went into it. So, but there have been several major developments in the war in Ukraine. There have been major developments all over the globe, whether you're talking about Europe, you're talking about Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, whether you're talking about North and South America. There's always something to be covering, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that is in these news stories is stuff that's not good. It's stuff that's very, a lot of people are impacted by this. A lot of people are impacted in a very negative way. So please be sure to check out the video description below and check out all the wonderful organizations that are down there, because 100% of everything we do here at the New News is to help support different charities around the world and help people around the world by informing you, the audience, as to what's happening, and then also giving you the opportunity to help the people that are directly affected by it. So, thank you very much for the support you've already given those organizations. 70% or more of the donations that they receive go directly to their programs, meaning they go directly to helping people, with 3% or less going to things like salaries and administration's costs. So, we hope that you guys will continue to support them, and if you can't give a lot to them, give a little. And if you can't give anything at all, that's okay too. One of the biggest things you can do is help us grow this channel, help us grow our impact here, and go through and giving us that like and subscribe and sharing this amongst your friends and families and communities really helps us grow the impact that we'll have on people's lives throughout the world. Before we get into the news here, there is a new feature apparently here on YouTube that I saw as I was putting up the stream, and I am very interested in. Because I have done things such as Twitter Spaces before, and I am thought about getting those up and running again. But I saw that there was the ability to do podcasts here on YouTube now. So if you guys are interested in podcast content, or if you have content, or if you want to see different content for upcoming videos, please feel free to put that in the comments below, and we'll start taking a look and seeing what we can put together for you guys. We want to be able to do things that you guys have interest in, and that we have interest in, and that we think will help people overall, whether it's their understanding of a situation or whether it's to help people in general. But if you have a question, please feel free to ask it in the live chat if you're joining us live tonight. As we get ready to move here into the news. To give you a little bit of a background on myself, I started in the Marine Corps between 2016 and 2020. I served as an O-352 anti-tank missileman, and I did 2 tours in the Middle East. My first tour was to Syria, where I spent 4.5 months. Between October of 2017 and March of 2018, and then I went back, and I actually was one of the 100 Marines that went to the Baghdad Embassy complex between March of 2008 or 2019 between October of 2019 and March of 2020, before being rotated home. I'm a subject matter expert in anti-armor warfare and armored doctrine. I'm also a fully cross-trained machine gunner, a fully cross-trained rifleman, a partially cross-trained radio operator, as well as a CLS certified Marine, meaning I've received additional medical training on top of what you mostly will receive if you without going through additional courses in the Marine Corps. And I do have experience providing immediate trauma aid to to trauma victims during my time in Syria specifically. So I do have other interests though. When it comes to obviously what's happening, history, science, geopolitics, but regardless if I'm an expert in any of the topics or not, the important thing is that you as a viewer are please doing your own research, because there is no substitute for doing your own research at all. But if you want a good starting place, all of these maps are provided to you, including this one tonight is on our website already. You guys can follow along, or you can go back through and see any of the sources, any of the videos yourselves, or you can go through anything that we have listed here. And with that, we jump right here and into the news, and we jump right into the special report of the night, which is down here in Ukraine. We have a couple of different things happening here in the capital of Ukraine. We do have, unfortunately, several war crimes updates coming from the Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine. The first thing is that, quote, Russian war crime statistics for the past week, February the 17th through the 24th. 1,141 new crimes were registered. At least 461 children were killed, 927 injured. The data without full consideration of places of active hostilities, meaning places like Bakhmut, Volodar, and other parts of the front line that things are simply too hot, or there's too much kinetic activity to be able to get accurate data on them. The second one comes from Andrei Kostin, the prosecutor general himself, and they say, quote, since the beginning of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, Russian troops have destroyed more than 81,000 Ukrainian civil infrastructure facilities, including more than 62,000 residential buildings. He further goes on to say, quote, as of February 23, due to Russian military aggression, 9,655 Ukrainian civilians were killed, including 461 children. In addition, Russian occupiers committed more than 68,000 war crimes. The Ukrainian law enforcement officers recorded 952 cases of Russian forces using prohibited cluster mines, chemical, and incendiary munitions. And we can pull up that statistic chart here that is posted by the Prosecutor General of Ukraine. 71,321 war crimes thus far registered, with an additional 16,835 crimes against national security having been registered. And as we have already covered, 461 children thus far killed, with an additional 927 injured. That doesn't include the over 16,000 that have been forcefully deported to Russia, and roughly 329 which at this point are reported missing. And as we continue here, our next point is the fact that, in the main topic of the night tonight, is the fact that Leopards arrived in Ukraine. The first 4 Leopard 2A4s provided by Poland have thus far arrived inside of Ukraine, according to the Minister of Defense, Alexei Reznikov. And we did find some wonderful images as those things came across the border. He, as well as his compatriot over there in Poland, actually met at the border and provided the handoff for them. And some pretty, of course, good photos of Alexei as he's climbing around inside these vehicles. See, they're here ready to meet the tanks already. Leopard 2A4, wonderful tank.
Я вам покажу, як я залазив тільки що. Ладно, вже якось залізний. Да, і зразу руку сюди, вперед, хоп, да, все, супер. Вот. Я так розумію, що там внизу оператор бою, а водій, я так розумію, з тої сторони.
Ну да, йому
є. Машингвер 762 на 51. Скільки? От в тому. О, ми зараз до нього підійдемо. Panie premierze, witam pana.
Jest, mógł podejść.
Wstajemy.
Танкова коаліція.
Так, в різних напрямках, в різних умовах, форсування. Можна?
Drodzy żołnierze, przywieźliśmy z Polski pierwsze 4 Leopardy po to, żebyście mogli jak najszybciej wygonić rosyjskiego agresora. Dziękuję za waszą odwagę, za waszą walkę.
Ми вдячні польському народу, вдячні польському уряду. Але від себе я також хочу приєднатися до пана прем'єр-міністра Республіки Польща, подякувати нашим солдатам, дякувати вам, молодим захисникам України. Дякуємо. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
And my personal favorite reaction to this is when he was getting inside of the Leopard tank.
Jakie pierwsze wrażenie? Przepraszam, gdzie jest droga na Moskwę?
When asked what his first impression of the Leopard 2 was, his response, excuse me, where's the road to Moscow? Obviously, he has a lot of confidence in what those are providing. And so those are going to be provided, being those will provide very valuable assets, to the front lines here, and be provided as long as they're properly utilized. Which, from what we've seen thus far, we can say for at least some kind of certainty that they will be much better employed than, say, if they were being used by the Russians against, the Russian forces here. And they're going to be very effective against Eastern main battle tanks, such as the T-series systems, T-62s, T-64s, T-72s, T-80s, T-90s, which is what the Ukrainians are facing on the battlefield. We move immediately here to the front lines, where unfortunately here, this is near Dovrychna, which is in the Kharkiv Oblast, where double tapping, we see this once again, and this isn't the first time that we have reported on this. So as Ukrainian first responders were headed to Dovrychna here, which was being shelled by Russian forces to assist in emergency rescue efforts, and they were targeted by Russian artillery. This is called double tapping, and this is something that the Russians developed back in Syria to target individuals such as the Syria National Defense, which is also known as the White Helmets, and Syria Civil Defense, which is known as the White Helmets. And they are, they specifically target first responders. They will wait between barrages to allow for first responders to come out and begin to provide aid, to begin to go through the rubble, and then they will hit the exact coordinates again while all these first responders are exposed, injuring and killing the first responders, preventing additional preventing additional help being provided to those that need it, that were hit in the first barrage, but also to limit any future assistance that they will be able to get by killing and maiming individuals that are providing that aid. It's very horrific. It's something that we saw extensively used in Syria, and it's something that we have seen here. In fact, we reported on it several times during the near encirclement of Kharkiv itself, where Grad systems were targeting the center of Kharkiv every single day, and we're double tapping it every single day with very horrific footage as a result. But we see that once again here, specifically targeting fire trucks, ambulances, targeting, the critical infrastructure, the critical, needs, the critical emergency needs for these people. And these guys have been doing this the entirety of the war, and they continue to target first responders, and this will likely continue far into the future. Unfortunately, as we come down here, we can officially, on the channel, change the map, which is something I normally don't do on stream. I'm going to go ahead and do so here. And that is unfortunately because this is a very small village here. The village of Yadne. I apologize, I cannot pronounce these things. Unfortunately, the Russian Wagner Group mercenaries appears to have actually captured the small village of Yadne. It's not a huge victory for the Russians, however, it does show that continual partial encirclement of Bakhmut, and that's going to put additional pressure, especially along this northern flank of the city, where we're already seeing quite significant issues. You see them, of course, posing for the camera. Unfortunately, we do have incendiary weapons usage that we're reporting now. This would be the 23rd report of incendiary weapons munitions on the channel. And this is coming out of Kashanivka. The usage of incendiary weaponry against personnel, military personnel, is actually a violation of international rule number 85 of the International Humanitarian Law, which states that you cannot use incendiary munitions against personnel in order to render them hors de combat, meaning no longer combat effective, unless there is no other humane ways to do so. And further that, it also violates additional Protocol 3 of the certain conventional weapons, to which Russia is a major signatory, and that is also known as the CCW. And that explicitly states that you cannot use air or ground delivered incendiary munitions over civilian targets. to further that civilian infrastructure and civilians in general, both their homes, their necessities, and their themselves are protected under the 1949 Geneva Convention against indiscriminate attacks such as this one by Additional Protocol 1 of the 1949 Geneva Convention adopted in 1977.
Фосфором ебашат. Ебать. Пидорасы. Фосфором.
Now she says something along the lines of phosphorus. These aren't phosphorus. And to make it clear on that, these aren't. So that's in reference to it being white phosphorus. White phosphorus is still used. In fact, the U.S. military still uses it. It has a purpose of being used in order to provide a very thick, heavy weight smoke screen to obscure movement and to obscure just the view of your enemy. But white phosphorus is not used in this fashion. What these are 9S-22Ms, and these are a type of 122 millimeter Grad rocket or Katyusha rocket, which airbursts over a target, and they are filled with these octagonal pellets inside of them, and these pellets are filled with incendiary chemicals that they, upon the explosive actually detonating in the air, it now rains and spreads all of these octagonal pellets all over the place and begins to rain down onto their targets, and it covers a very wide area. And these incendiary munitions, these incendiary pellets, are burning at thousands of degrees. They will melt through, and they will ignite about anything you can think of that could possibly be flammable, to include people. And once again, we can see more here. These are, once again, air bursting over a city. These are exceptionally horrific. Avdiivka is seeing extensive combat, and we will continue probably to see extensive combat around Avdiivka, as it is recognized that Avdiivka is probably one of the axes of advance of this new offensive that people keep talking about. So reportedly, a major Russian offensive has already begun. That is questionable, but it could be, and it could just be bad enough that it just isn't gaining any ground. And the reason we say that is because you see in Volodar, Marinka, in Avdiivka, around, of course, Bakhmut, but also up in Crimea and Belgorivka, we're seeing a very significant increase in combat, in kinetic activity along this front line, which is an indicator of an increase of enemy movement and enemy activity. But Avdiivka, we are seeing quite an extensive increase in that kinetic military operation, especially over the last 72 hours. And we can even see at least one person was reportedly injured, coming from Pavel Kolenko, who said that the city was being heavily, and I do mean heavily, shelled. You see Grad rocket canisters. But that is it for everything there inside of the country of Ukraine. But that's not everything that is in Ukraine itself, or that it's not everything in the world itself. As we continue on and into the international news, we actually come up here and into St. Petersburg, Russia, where an unknown man fired a sawed-off shotgun at a riot policeman. According to the investigation, on the morning of February 24, 2023, in the center of St. Petersburg, near the metro entrance of the Gostiny Dvor station, a man shot at an Oman officer. The injured employee was hospitalized in one of the medical institutions in the city, and he is receiving qualified medical care. As a result of the investigative actions and operational search activities, together with the employees of the regional department and the Ministry of Internal Affairs, a man was detained. The issue of choosing a preventative measure against him and bringing him charges against him is being decided. Well, you can see that he was very quickly detained. Might I note just how many police officers are currently just hanging around downtown St. Petersburg? This is called a police state. As we continue on here and through Europe, we come over to Berlin, where the German peace activist park destroyed a Russian tank. So the German peace activists ended up parking a destroyed Russian tank outside the Russian embassy. Activists protesting against Russia's invasion of Ukraine parked a destroyed rusty tank directly in front of the Russian embassy in Berlin on Friday, bringing a piece of the battlefield to the center of the German capital. It has been placed at the intersection of Schadowstrasse and the German capital's main tourist mile, Unter den Linden, where it will remain until Monday. The district office of Berlin's Mietbüro has rejected Lindsay's and Geibel's applications to display the tank last year, citing concerns including road safety. The organizers took legal action, and Berlin Administrative Court granted the permission to proceed with the project. Well, would you look at that? Another lovely photo there for you. Meanwhile, in London, a huge Ukrainian flag was painted on the road outside of the Russian embassy. A group of activists poured hundreds of liters of yellow and blue paint onto the road outside of the Russian embassy in London on Thursday to create an enormous Ukrainian flag ahead of the one-year anniversary of Moscow's invasion. The campaign group, led by donkeys, halted traffic before spreading more than 300 liters, 79 gallons of paint across the road using wheelbarrows and brushes to make 500 square meter or 5,382 square feet flag. London's Metropolitan Police said 3 men and 1 woman were arrested on suspicion of criminal damage and obstructing the highway. The group said the non-toxic, solvent-free, and fast-dry edible paint was washable and designed for road art. So that does have a large amount of music, or it does have copyright music that we can't show here. That's pretty cool, not gonna lie. And once again, it's washable paint. So unfortunately, a lot of people were like, you can't, washable paint. And so we jump down here and into the Middle East, where unfortunately here in the Gaza Strip, Israel has attacked the Gaza Strip in retaliation once again. On the night of February 22 through 23, militants from the Gaza Strip fired 6 rockets at Israel. 5 munitions were intercepted by the Israeli Iron Dome missile defense system, and one ended up falling into an open field. Responsibility for the shelling was taken by Iran al-Azwad group, which noted that there was revenge on the Tel Aviv for the militants and Palestinians who died during the counterterrorism operation in the city of Nablus. In response to shelling, Israeli Air Force attacked Hamas military facilities in the Gaza Strip. The IDF statement noted that the group's weapons workshop, which suffered one of the airstrikes, was located near a mosque, a clinic, a school, and a hotel. Thus, accordingly, the Israeli military, the Palestinian group is using civilian facilities in Gaza as cover. We move over here and into Afghanistan near Taloqan, where an explosion occurred there in the city of Taloqan. According to media reports, a car belonging to the Taliban was blown up by an IED near the central square of the city. 4 militants were killed and 7 more people, including civilians, were injured. While in Tajikistan, a very strong earthquake ended up striking the region. An earthquake about 6.8 in magnitude shook the eastern Tajikistan at 5:37 a.m. Local time, or 12:37 a.m. GMT, 7:37 Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. Tajik authorities said that which was felt in China and other neighboring countries. The earthquake struck the mountainous Gorno-Badakhshan Autonomous Region, which was earlier this month hit by a series of deadly avalanches. There were no reports of any casualties at this point.
完了，这下全完了，整个山全倒了，没了10几20个车，要死多少人，彻底的要倒灶了。
As you can see, a fairly strong earthquake. While in China, Inner Mongolia, China specifically, at least 6 people are dead after a coal mine ended up collapsing. China's Inner Mongolia region ordered inspections at all of its open pit mines on Friday after at least 6 people were killed in a landslide at a local mine, with 47 others which are still missing. The mine, operated by a small local firm, Xinjiang Coal Mining Company, collapsed in an avalanche of rock on Wednesday, leaving workers buried under the pile of debris. 6 people have been pulled out alive by 10:30 p.m. or 14:30 GMT on Thursday. Li Zongxiang, head of the town of Alxa League, said the rescue mission was difficult due to the threat of more landslides, and rescue plans include layered excavation, trapezoidal descending methods from both sides of the mountain. Australia has pledged drone systems for Ukraine. Ukraine's defense forces will be given access to Australian drone systems as the federal government unveils a raft of new sanctions against people connected to Russia's ongoing invasion of the country. The federal government will commit uncrewed aerial systems to Ukraine's defense in a package worth $33 million USD. This support Quote, this support will provide the battlefield intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capability to the Ukrainian armed forces so that they continue their fight against the unwarranted aggression of Russia, end quote. And that comes from the Defense Minister Richard Marles, who said that in a statement. In Cameroon, 19 people were killed during an explosion happening at the marathon in Bo. The militants set off a roadside IED as athletes ran past. The authorities suspect that separatists from the recognized state of Ambazonia were involved in the attack. While in Nigeria, Nigerian military positions were fired out by the Islamic State. The Islamic State fighters reported shelling the position of the Nigerian army in the Gunigari district of the Yobe State using a mortar and a Norinco LG-3 automatic grenade launcher. The use of the same grenade launcher also occurred in the state of Borno, where a military camp near the city of Damboa was fired upon. Several more attacks targeting a patrol of Nigerian soldiers and their barracks took place near the towns of Amanguno and Gambora, during which several soldiers were killed and wounded. Terrorists ended up taking trophies. Wait a second, I gotta go back. Is that a motorcycle mounted 40mm grenade launcher? You know, I've seen a lot of stuff in my day. I've never seen this. This is impressive. You can mount a 40mm grenade launcher on the back of a motorcycle? I'm curious as to how you managed to do that. I've seen them on all sorts of things, but never a motorcycle. The Islamic State has begun to implement its threats against the holding of elections. The building of a local government secretariat of Okage Kogi State, which was planned to hold voting in the upcoming elections, was blown up by the Islamists with 4 IEDs. Local authorities condemned the attack and also called for an increase to security of the election commissions in order to prevent attacks by the Islamic State. Armored vehicles and the military began to transfer to various cities in Nigeria to protect against such attacks by terrorists on polling stations and candidates. Official statement coming from the Islamic State. Looks like several very large IEDs in that attack were used. That is no small military presence. Looking forward, he says, yeah, but he says regarding the 40mm grenade launcher on a motorcycle, he says, yeah, but what about his outfit? I mean, his outfit's not bad. I mean, it's civilian looking, but it's also tactical, and it's, you know, I mean, you can see he has, you know, some pretty good pockets on there. It's tactical because, you know, it's definitely camouflage colored. This guy's just wearing all black, which makes sense because he's Islamic State. But I mean, it's he's about equally as outfitted as, say, these, you know, the actual Nigerian army is, which is, you know, part of the problem in Africa is the fact that these countries are, you know, they're under, you know, they're developing countries. They not receiving the support that the Middle East has over the last 30 years to fight insurgencies. and they are about equal in strength when it comes to one-on-one engagements with the Islamic State. And so it makes it very difficult to, it makes it very difficult to combat, these what in Africa are a very strong and very much growing terrorist threat that is probably very far beyond actually the situations in the Middle East. Dare I say, the situation in Africa, I'd say, is much worse than what it was in the Middle East, despite the focus that was put and the emphasis that was put on the Middle East as a result of the war on terror. In Mexico, here at Joroca, Veracruz, 3 Pemex facilities were hit by fires in one single day. 3 fires broke out on Thursday at different facilities in Mexico and the United States, operated by state-owned Mexican oil company Pemex, leaving 5 missing and 8 others injured as of Thursday evening. The cause of that fire, which has been put out, has not yet been determined. You can see some quite not a small fire at all. These are oil facilities. They do get very toasty.
Paso Nuevo, dile por donde vamos a comer mariscos.
Meanwhile, in Florida, an Islamic State supporter has been sentenced to 18 years in prison. In the United States, an Islamic State supporter was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Mohammed Momtaz al-Azhari was found guilty of providing material to support for the MTO, as well as preparing a terrorist attack on behalf of the group. The militant was preparing an attack at a crowded place in Tampa. To do this, he illegally acquired 2 pistols, and the motive for the terrorist attack was a revenge of the Muslims in prison, including jihadists, and for U.S. military action in the Middle East. It is noteworthy that al-Azhari was initially detained for attempting to illegally acquire weapons, so that turned out to be an FBI agent. Soon after that, already under the supervision of the American intelligence services, he tried to convert a friend to Islam and told him about the plans to commit a terror attack. A friend informed the security forces about al-Azhari's intentions. In the Florida District Court, it turned out that the FBI agents were conducting, according to lawyers, illegal surveillance of the suspect. There are about 900 video recordings. Video recordings in the case file, including with shots where the man chooses a place to commit a terror attack. For this, a secret program of spy planes was used, on which there were high-resolution cameras. At the same time, in appearance, these were civilian ships registered to figureheads. And now he will rot in a jail for the rest of his life. Or at least 18 years. Ooh, nice! Nuclear has provided another Conscriptovich meme. We have destroyed all the leopards. No idea why they keep hiding in an office building. It is really... I'm sure that all the Russians are asking that question, Nuclear. I'm sure that they are all asking that question. We have a couple of different developments here. We're actually going to start over here in Iraq, where a 4,500-year-old Sumerian temple was discovered in Iraq. Archaeologists in Iraq have unearthed the remains of a 4,500-year-old Sumerian temple dedicated to Ningirsu, a Mesopotamian god of springtime thunder. The long-lost temple was built out of mud brick and was a spectacular centerpiece of the ancient city of Girsu, now an archaeological site known as Tella. That is the digital reconstruction that they have made for this location. Quite impressive. And so we do have quite a bit of thing here from the British Museum. If you want some more on that as well, Life Sciences have an article covering it. Well, coming out of Paris, a 20,000 foot tall mountain on the moon was named in honor of Melba Roy Mutton. The International Astronomical Union, or IAU, has named a 20,000 foot tall or 6,000 meter mountain on the moon in honor of pioneering American mathematician Melba Roy Mutton, who, among many other accomplishments during her 14 years at NASA, Mutton received an Apollo Achievement Award for her part in the success of Apollo 11 moon landing on July 20th, 1969. In 1961, Mutton joined the Mission and Trajectory Analysis Division as head programmer. Her team, the program systems branch, was responsible for coding computer programs to track NASA spacecraft in orbit. She then became Assistant Chief of Research Programs for the Trajectory and Geodynamics Division at Goddard before retiring in 1973. Mutton died in 1990 at the age of 61 due to brain cancer. If you would like some more on that information, please feel free to check out Life Science, which also has yet another one, another article on that. And as we wrap up the night, we come to Boulder, Colorado, where the James Webb Telescope has spotted galaxies that are so massive they shouldn't exist. The James Webb Telescope has discovered a group of galaxies from the dawn of the universe that are so massive that they shouldn't exist. 6 gargantuan galaxies, which contain almost as many stars as the Milky Way, despite forming only 500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang, have been dubbed universe breakers by the team of astronomers that spotted them. If they are real, the discovery calls our entire understanding of galaxy formation into question. The researchers say the galaxies are so massive that they are in tension with 99% of the models for cosmology. This means that either the models need to be altered or scientific understanding of galaxy formation requires a fundamental rethink. Right now, all evidence points at these celestial objects being galaxies, but the astronomers haven't ruled out that some of them could be enormous quasars or supermassive black holes. So those are the images of these giant, massive galaxies. If you would like some more, Eureka Alert has a press release regarding that, as well as Life Science. But that is everything that we have in the world for tonight. So I hope that you guys found this to be knowledgeable. I hope that it was good to help you understand everything kind of going on in the world. And I hope that you guys are able to give back and help some of the people affected by these really bad situations all throughout the world. So please be sure to check out the video description below and check out all of the wonderful organizations that are listed there. 70% or more of the donations that those organizations do receive go directly to their programs and go directly to helping people all throughout the world. And so please be sure, if you can't give a lot to these organizations, give a little. And if you can't give anything at all, that's okay too. One of the biggest things you can do is help us grow this channel and help us support, by giving us that like and subscribe and sharing our content with friends and families and communities that you may be a part of. Because the more people that come here, the more good we'll be able to do overall. The more people come here to donate, the more people that become informed. So thank you very much for your support so far. It's been amazing to see this thing grow. I'm happy that I hope that you guys have liked that new video. Please let us know what kind of other content you guys would like to see us do in video form as well, by commenting. And if you guys would like to see podcasts, or if you guys would like to have podcasts from us as well. So In the meantime, we hope to see you back here on Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central for another 48 hours of news in review. We hope that you, your family, and your friends remain safe, and if not, we do hope that you find that safety and security in the very near future. My name is Paul from the New News, and have a fantastic rest of your night, everybody, and have a fantastic weekend. All right, bye now.
Going home, Russian soldiers, going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО. Нам не треба ні конфлікту, ні війни. Та ми готові всіх вас слать до сатани. Тисячі вже полягло, і все більше шверхуйло. То для них нема нічого, крім труни. Going home, Russian soldiers, going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО.
Вызволять пришел, братишка, ну привет. На моей земле тебе один ответ. Нашим людям с кирпичом, даже танки и бачок. Вам не взять нас и за 100 тысяч лет.
Going home, Russian soldiers, going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО.
Mr. Putin, on behalf of all our guys, no one's scared of your nuclear device. You can take your top 11, shove it up your wrinkle bomb. I will come to help you fit it in your skull.
Russian soldiers going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО. Going home, Russian soldiers going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО. Russian soldiers going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО. Going home, Russian soldiers going home. Бо ми всіх вас тут змішаємо з багном. І стоять до волноваги, і чудно кличе, діти нахуй. Тут працює ЗСУ і ТМО.
Идите нахуй!